Hello and welcome to ThisWeek TV on ThisWeekNews.com. I'm Joe Meyer, the Managing Editor. Gahanna residents have a big decision to make on November 5th. Issue 17 is on the ballot, asking residents to approve an increase in their city income tax from 1.5 to 2.5%. Approval comes with the city's promise to also increase the credit to 100% for those city residents who work elsewhere. With me are George Mroz, representing the pro-levy Citizens for a Strong Gahanna group, and Alicia Holloway, representing the levy opposition group, Restore Gahanna. George, let me start with you. George, many letter writers to the Rocky Fork Enterprise have complained that the cancellation of the fireworks this July 4th was sort of a punishment for the May levy failure. Do you support the city's decision to cancel the fireworks display? In other words, are responsible spending decisions and responsible cut decisions being implemented?
I want to thank you for inviting me here to speak with regards to issue 17. But to answer your question, I was personally disappointed with the mayor canceling the fireworks. However, prior to the lead up to the May ballot initiative, she was quite forthright in saying that the possibilities existed for all non-core activities or programs to be terminated or canceled should the May initiative fail, which it did. That being said, those are many reasons to vote yes for issue 17, because the issue 17 will provide financial flexibility for the city to provide non-core opportunities like the fireworks going forward.
Okay, Alicia, what do you think about that?
Well, I actually did attend several of the meetings surrounding that decision, and the first thing that has been an issue is whether or not the mayor indeed had the authority to override city council's appropriation of that money. That was certainly something that was discussed in the meetings, and there was much disagreement within the city council members. As it ended up, it stood that they let that stay in place. The fact is that that was $30,000, $40,000 worth of money that ended up being found in a private donation, which is again a very creative way to meet the citizens' needs, and what the fireworks were indeed held at the Golf Depot.
Okay, next question. We'll go to the anti-levy group. Given that the city's tax rate is lower than other Central Ohio cities' rates, what sort of measure would you support in lieu of what's on the ballot? In other words, if you won't support this tax increase, what would you support?
Well, we believe the city budget needs more work, starting with the revenue projections. The budget shows no increase in the next 5 years for revenue. With the improvement in the economy, and both income and investment revenues should be increasing. The city recently revised their 2013 budget projections by $1.1 million, a 7% increase over what the budget was at the beginning of the year. We do not believe the city leaders have done any serious work to identify the efficiencies and other sources of revenue possible. I spoke at City Council earlier this year when I heard that they were considering a 67% increase in our income tax, and I made several suggestions about possible efficiencies. In that meeting, 2 different City Council members acknowledged that my ideas were something of value. Once the city administration and council have done this, we will consider supporting a tax initiative that includes language similar to that of Westerville, specifically allocating a percentage of revenue of those things that are not core services. Additionally, we want voters to have the final say in the funding of large, one-time projects, such as a pool renovation or infrastructure improvements to the residential streets by way of ballot proposals.
Great, thank you. George.
I would say that the city has done its due diligence with regards to projected revenue needs. The mayor addressed that most recently with her 5-year capital needs assessment. And in fact, our elected representatives, by a wide majority, 6 out of 7 council members voted to put the language similar to the May ballot initiative in November, because even though the initiative failed in May, the needs for the city are still there now and going into the future. I feel confident that the citizenry was heard and that the best efforts were put forth by council to look at alternatives, and if they're comfortable with this on the November initiative, we believe it will pass and provide financial security for the city going forward.
Okay. George, you've got another one for the levy backers. Voters already rejected the income tax plan in May. The perception is that among the no voters, is that the city's ignoring their vote. You just addressed that, but I'll ask you to expound a little bit by bringing the exact same issue back on the ballot. Why couldn't the city at least pose a different measure than the same request that was filed in May?
The answer is, again, by an overwhelming majority. 6 out of 7 council members thought it important that the city have the revenue it needs going forward into the future. As a matter of fact, the proposed revenues that would be raised will not impact senior citizens, retirement income, pension payments, and investment income will not be touched. The cost to someone that lives and works in the city of Gahanna and earns $50,000 a year is about $2.40 a week, or about a cup of specialty coffee up the street at Pete's.
All right. Alicia, your response.
I was certainly one of those people who was at council early this year suggesting that they not put it on the May ballot because it was typically a low turnout type of election. And I, as one, had not had time to really grasp what the budget that was presented in January was bringing forward. So from that standpoint, I did try and dissuade them from doing that. I do agree, however, that they have shown a lack of attention to the voters by not being willing to make any changes to the proposal in the November election.
Thank you. All right, now it's your turn again. If issue 17 passes, the only ones who would pay more are those who work and live in Gahanna. Shouldn't those who use the city services the most, that are here all day, pay more than others? Isn't that fair?
Well, I believe that it's fair that anyone who lives in Gahanna pays something to live in our great community. Currently, someone who works in the city of Columbus pays 0.25% to live in Gahanna. The tax reform under consideration is a 1% tax increase to those who work and live in Gahanna. Council promises to vote 100% credit to those who work elsewhere, meaning that they will pay nothing to live in the city that they want. The financial sustainability presentation given by City Hall in January, which is this document here, presented 4 scenarios to the tax reform, for tax reform to council. The scenarios included tax rate increases between 0.5% and 1%, with tax credit decreases to the credit from 83.3 to 0.75%, and credit increases of 90 to 100%. The scenario that increases the tax to 0.75% with a 90% credit raised almost $1 million more in revenue. So it's not hard to imagine that leaving the credit at 83.3% would provide the revenue the city currently believes it needs. People have continued to choose Gahanna as their home with the current credit. Homes in Gahanna continue to retain their value and sell more quickly. So it appears to substantiate that people will continue to call Gahanna home under the current credit.
Very good. George, what do you think?
I would agree. For the most part, employers have not complained, to the best of my knowledge, to either the mayor. In fact, the Chamber of Commerce and the Convention Visitors Bureau have both supported issue 17 as a way to continue funding the city and provide the infrastructure needs, the parks and recreation opportunity that the city residents require. And if employers did have an issue with regards to issue 17, I can't imagine that the Chamber of Commerce would have supported this, as they have.
All right, thank you very much. With that, what we'll do is a little bit of a wrap up, your last chance at an infomercial for your side of this issue 17 debate. And George, you had the first question, so Alicia, it's your turn. Why should people vote no on issue 17?
I have lived in Central Ohio my entire life, including Grandview, Upper Arlington, and Westerville. I now live in Gahanna because I truly believe Gahanna is a great community. I believe this is because many people who work here call Gahanna home. These citizens include our teachers, police officers, and fire personnel who will be carrying the burden of this 67% increase. Restore Gahanna would support an initiative that demonstrates that city leadership is, 1, willing to commit to providing realistic revenue projections, 2, willing to do the hard work of identifying efficiencies, 3, willing to create a budget based on a commitment to provide truly core services as a first priority, 4, be willing to go to the voters with separate limited term levies to fund large dollar one-time projects, and 5, be willing to eliminate any increase to the income tax credit. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for coming. And George, on the pro-levy side.
I would ask that everyone watching please vote yes on issue 17 on November 5th, for the simple fact that about 60% of us will not feel the impact of the increase. If you're retired, please remember, issue 17 will not touch your retirement income, Social Security payments, and/or investment income. And that if you work in a city like Columbus, if anything, your local income tax will be reduced. And to those of you that live and work in Gahanna, I would ask, is the quality of life worth $2.40 a week if in fact you earn about $50,000 a year? Issue 17 has been supported by the FOP. It's been supported by Chief Murphy, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, as well as the Chamber of Commerce, amongst other groups and committees within the city. I think those commitments and endorsements speaks for themselves with regards to those citizens and how they feel about issue 17 and the quality of life in the town we call Gahanna, and the opportunity we have now to leave a vibrant and strong community, not only for ourselves, but for our children and grandchildren to follow. And ask everyone to vote yes on issue 17 on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, George, and thank you, Alicia. Election day is November 5th. The early absentee voting is happening right now. Be sure to visit thisweeknews.com on election night to follow results live and of issue 17, as well as everything else that's on the local election ballot. We'll have live updates and results as they come in on election night. Your Thursday Rocky Fork Enterprise will have extensive results on how the vote goes. From This Week News, this is Joe Meyer. Thanks for watching.